Sean, you like old school films. I love those posters behind you, man. I love all that sort of, old B movie. Oh, it's so good. We were
Right?
very much inspired by the older films on this one, so it's really nice to see that you're into that,
It's right in my wheelhouse. Well, I'm going to start off by yelling at you and blaming
Mm,
you for giving me
do.
all the nightmares that I've had this week.
That's my job. That's my job. That's how I know I've done my job well.
Mission
When the audience is
accomplished.
angry.
I,
I got to my mother hadn't seen it. She came to the premiere with me and she turned to me and she goes, "Oh, Kiah, it's beautiful, but I nearly vomited 5 times. Can't you make a drama? Can't you make a musical?" And I'm like, "Sorry, mum. You've
look,
got a horror film director as a son."
as much as I want you to be the best son possible for your mother, please don't. Please stay in your
It's very
wheelhouse.
unlikely I'll make a musical. And if I made a musical, heads would roll, literally.
Yeah.
It'd be an R-rated musical.
Now that I would see. This movie, Beast of War, was it was on my radar for Fantastic Fest. I greatly appreciate getting the screener. I was keen to see it because I love creature feature. I love nature run amok. I
Mm.
also happen to love war movies.
Yeah.
This was like an amalgam,
It combines all
right?
three.
I mean, I'm like, did you read my dream journal? What's going on here? You know? So let me just start off by saying, I really did love the film. It's difficult to make a shark movie
Yeah, it is.
after
Yeah.
Jaws, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have to say, you have figured out a way to do it that is unique. It's claustrophobic and it's so intense in the best way possible. I mean, you
Mm.
really dial it up to 11. But let's get into it. I mean, I know I've got you for 10 minutes. I hope you don't mind if I just pepper you with a couple of questions because I'm very
Please do. Yeah.
curious. How did you come up with the concept? I know it's based off of a true story. Was this something that was on your radar previously, or was it just like an inspired moment? You're like, this is what I want to do next.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Jaws, because as soon as you realize you're making a shark film, like as a filmmaker, you're seized with terror. You're like, oh God, please don't embarrass yourself in the shadow of Spielberg. Don't mess this up. Because there's not that many great shark films. Like there's one truly great masterpiece shark film. Then there's a couple of good ones. And then there's some ones that are kind of okay. And then everything else is crap.
Yeah.
So like there's only, the bar's pretty high. And like, it's also, you've seen so many filmmakers just nearly get there, but not even vaguely. Like, and so the thing that Spielberg did with Jaws was he made a film that was like, it's like Hitchcock meets David Lean with a shark, and that's a difficult style to ape. But like, so he made a real adventure film that also happens to be, quite deep and just a brilliantly rendered B movie genre piece at the same time. It's very hard to get all those elements together. And so, when I knew I was going to make a shark film, I'm just like, oh, well, the SS Indianapolis feature from Jaws hasn't really been done
True.
like that. They
Yeah.
haven't done like a proper Spielbergian kind of David Lean adventure, sort of B movie riff on that story. And I knew I couldn't do the American version because that's $100 million. Like you can't make that as a cheap sort of thing. And this is an indie budget, it's an indie film. And so I did a bit of research and I realized that, we had a true story that occurred in World War II, with our Australian troops, where the HMAS Armidale sunk halfway between Darwin and Timor, and hundreds of men went in the ocean, and a lot of them got eaten by sharks, and a lot of them were never seen again. And I did a lot of research into that, and it was an incredible, horrific, true story. And I realized very quickly I can't make that story, out of respect for the people who went through it. And also, if
Yeah.
you made that story as it was, it's just too bleak. And so I went off and did my own adventure riff on that, and decided to make and so I maintained as many of the serious elements as I could, and read my own grandfather's war journals and letters home. He died in the Pacific, and so I was able to put a lot of personal family stuff into the film as well. But basically, the idea of these men trapped on a raft, surrounded by debris, Japanese Zeros strafing them from above and like a giant shark underneath, hunting them from below. And they've got to jump from debris to debris to debris to get to a motorboat, to bring the motorboat back, to attach the motor to their raft and maybe get back to Darwin. I'm like, that's just like the scariest game of the floor is lava that's ever been played in
Right?
history. And I'm just like, that's a fun concept,
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I could just get it right in terms of production, we might have a movie here. And so, yeah, that was kind of the inspiration.
I'm here to tell you that you absolutely nailed it. I know it's an indie budget. The money is on the screen. The ingenuity is on the screen, though. And I want to give you credit. I think it's an inspired choice to have the setting, a fog bank rolls in, it
Mm,
deadens the sound, although the sound design in this film is spectacular, as is the production design. I loved everything that you did with it. But to your credit, you're kind of taking a Hitchcockian concept and a Spielbergian concept and making it completely your own because you have Lifeboat with Jaws mashed up kind of. You've got these guys on this raft and there's a lot the what I truly appreciated was that you took your time in the beginning of the film to really set
mm,
the dynamics between the interpersonal relationships. Then
yeah,
we get on the raft, and then it's kind of like, hey, who can trust who and whose motives are genuine and whose aren't, all while trying to get the hell out of that fog bank while there's a 20-foot great white shark beneath you.
yeah.
I really did think it was an inspired concept. I loved it.
Well, we knew that the film wasn't going to look like Jaws. We can't shoot it on Martha's Vineyard out on the open ocean. Like we couldn't. We looked into it and it was just like, yeah, we're never going to do that. So we knew we had to shoot it in studio. So it was going to end up looking kind of like Lifeboat. And I like Lifeboat. I like
Same.
Hitchcock. And I'm like, well, that worked. And if that worked, 70 years ago, it can work today. And so I just didn't want it to look like a film that was shot in a studio, in a tank, very artificial. And I was like, the only way that I know how to pull that off is to just do it all practical. We've got a practical approach to production. So we're going to shoot it like Murnau shot Nosferatu or Sunrise. We're going to really take our cues from Francis Coppola with Bram Stoker's Dracula in terms of the visual palette, just constant change ups. It goes from, like nighttime lit by fire to these dusky, kind of blues to, these beautiful, gorgeous pink sunrises to blood red sunsets at
And it
night.
is
We'll put
gorgeous.
bioluminescence in the water so that it's got this growing, like glowing kind of neon steampunk science fiction look. So we constantly change the palette in the same way that Coppola did with Dracula. And it's just like, we want to do Nosferatu with a fin. And so, once you start throwing all those elements in, along with like a dedicated practical shark idea where you've got, this 1 ton animatronic floating through the water, exploding up out of the surface of the water and like really interacting with the actors so that people are scared of an actual realistic, texturally realistic monster. You put all those elements together and you've kind of got a shark film that doesn't look or feel like any other shark film. And I'm just hoping that that could be a point of connection for audiences. Because
Kiah,
they see a lot of shark films every year. It's 10 shark films and they all look the same.
they do. This one is so distinct. It's so different. It's what I really appreciated about it. I have to wrap up, but I want to, and I hope you don't take offense at this, but this film actually, it went beyond just being a survival shark film for me. I actually started to see it as almost like a haunted house movie. Where,
Oh no, no, that's not offense. That's a beautiful compliment. Thank you so much. Because I mean, Ridley Scott's famous for saying that about Alien. He said,
yeah,
"All I'm doing is making a haunted house film. I'm just pulling out all the stops creatively." And that's thank you very much for saying that.
you take it in a completely new direction because it literally is don't go in the basement. I mean, definitely don't go in the
Don't go in the
basement.
water. Yeah, yeah,
And you have these
yeah,
inspired moments, and this is where I got so mad at you because you got me
yeah,
every time. You have these inspired moments where a character does end up in the water for whatever reason, and
yeah,
you're frantically searching the screen for where the shark is.
mm,
Is the shark there? And you'll have these moments, and I don't want to spoil anything. There's many of them in
yeah.
the movie. You'll have these moments where the character gets out of the water, but just in that nanosecond before the foot gets out of the water, you see the shark in frame, and I'm like, you son
Yeah,
of a bitch, you got me again.
you got to do it all. I mean, that's all standard stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was the hope was that we could make a classic gothic horror, where the shark would turn into this werewolf that's circling them on the moors, and hidden in the fog, growling and snarling and shrieking. And yeah, we wanted it to kind of feel like one of those old school, sort of gothic horrors.
You nailed it. I've got to split now though. I really appreciate your time today and I can't wait for the next movie. This one was an absolute banger and I really did enjoy it.
Thanks so much, Sean. I really appreciate it. Thanks
All
for
right.
interviewing me.
Good luck with the rest of your press day. Take care.
Thanks, mate.